Hey guys, I really quickly just wanted to go over and showcase a build I've been playing, a build I've tinkered with. If you guys have any questions about anything that's going on in the build, feel free to ask. I'm going to link a couple videos in the description that go into detail explaining all the interactions that are going on with the build. But basically it's using Gold, Blunderbore, and Golden Charlatan to stack a bunch of shrine buffs and get really strong. A lot of other people have made really interesting decisions about how to build this character, and a lot of those decisions have been optimizing the fully buffed version of the character. And I personally think that's a sort of flawed approach, because unless you're doing content with hundreds of rares, you are effectively just making the build worse by only looking at the buff version of the character. It's actually more important, in my opinion, to look at the unbuff version of the character to see how can this build do damage outside of a buff phase. And so I did a lot of digging, looking at how to make this character better. I stumbled upon a video by Bazooka Tank where he went Stormcall and AoE scaling, and I really loved it. He made some decisions on the character that are a lot different from what I made. And so I just wanted to go over my version of the character, because I think ultimately the version that I have created, which is, a couple mirrors at this point, is the best version that you could possibly create. And so what are the decisions that are different from my build, from the Spark build, and different from Bazooka's build as well? Bazooka doesn't have a formal video, so I'm gonna just explain the changes he sort of made to the build also in this video. I'm really just comparing it to the Spark video that I will link down below. So one thing that is a glaring issue with the Spark video is it goes, controlled destruction, and it opts to basically not have any crit chance at all. It's like 2% chance to crit, but it has crit multi all over the place. So outside of buffs, you have 10 of your passive points invested into something that effectively is doing nothing for you. That's great once you get a Diamond Shrine, because all that crit multi is gonna pay off, but you don't have to have any of the wasted effort on crit chance. So there is logic to what they're doing, but like I said, the unbuff phase matters a whole lot. So the best way to scale crit, especially as a witch, is to power charge stack, because you're on this top side of the tree, which is around all the power charges. Power charges give you 50% crit per power charge, so I opted to power charge stack instead of frenzy stack, and then we can use Badge of the Brotherhood to essentially get those frenzies back. Now the problem with this is you can't go the influence neck that lets you shock, freeze, and chill with any type of damage. And this build does convert to chaos, so we're losing one very important thing, which is the ability to shock as a chaos build. And we can get that back by going Shaper of Storms with Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame. There is an alternative to this. If Shaper of Storms becomes expensive at any point in the league, then you can go Elementalist instead and take Shaper of Storms, as well as Golem stack, and then you can always Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame to Forbidden Power instead. And honestly, losing Forbidden Flower isn't the end of the world too, so if you played this as an Elementalist and just didn't have this at all, that would be okay too. But the min-max version of the build, you probably do want to be an Occultist, and you probably want to Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame, a Shaper of the Storms. That way you can shock even with chaos damage. And then we're just scaling AoE through our Forbidden Power node. So we have 10 power chargers total, with the ring, the helm, the power chargers on the tree, and this ascendancy. And we have some vast power nodes to give us AoE per power charge. Forbidden Power itself gives us AoE per power charge, and then the rest of our medium clusters are just also scaling AoE, and that makes our Stormcall really, really big. Very fun to have a Stormcall this big. All the MTXs look super cool. Even the base version looks cool. The base version gives you the most visual clarity, so if you're trying to actually see what your character's doing, I would suggest going this. but it's fun to go to MTX as well. So we're scaling all this AoE, and AoE scaling instead of pierce scaling with Spark gives us one really huge benefit, and that is that we have a bunch of explode on this build. Aureus End and Unspeakable Gifts, as well as Profane Bloom, are all chances to explode, and by scaling AoE generically like we are, we're taking our explode to be from a very small size to being about the size of this Sigil of Power. Meaning that if a rare explodes right here, it hits guys all the way over here. It's quite large. Usually it would only go about half that size, so it would only get to like right here or so. And that AoE scaling makes a really large difference when it comes to killing large monsters and clearing things quickly in terms of like a strong box or a simulacrum. Basically, the explodes make it so even when we don't have all those barred power, the fact that the explosion is like half the screen means that as long as we're able to kill white mobs, we can kill the rare mobs, and then take their power and become strong. And so AoE scaling is like a no-brainer. It's like a very good idea in this build. And Stormcall is the best AoE lightning skill to go. And kudos to Bazooka Tank. He's the person I got that idea from. Some other cool, interesting ideas in this build besides the Badge of the Brotherhood and the power charge stacking is we go Breath Stealer. What Breath Stealer lets us do is it lets us anoint something else. There are other gloves out there. You don't need a frenzy charge implicit here, so there are other gloves that could do a lot of damage that aren't an anoint. So I opted to anoint Overcharge and Force of Darkness. I corrupted these gloves myself. They're 10C each. I think I bought like 50 pairs and I just Battlorb them all until I got one. So it wasn't that hard to hit. 50 times 10 is 500C. I spent 500C corrupting them. I have like enough gold to do that forever. So these gloves cost me like 3 divines because I had to anoint them after. Very, very simple thing to do. If the gloves ever got expensive, there are other options. There's tons of gloves you can get Despair on hit for that would give you damage in another way besides an anoint. Anyway, if you guys have any questions about anything, any of those decisions in this build, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll let the showcase speak for itself.